What's going on, everyone? uh, Bear with me here because this one is probably going to be long because it takes a lot to explain sometimes what people like me are really trying to say. But I want to get this point across. I'm going to be talking about religion, spirituality, and other practices that we as a people do and have done, and I'm going to explain why I think they're dangerous and why I think we're fooling ourselves, we're contradicting ourselves, and there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, because if you haven't broken away from that yet, then you might not have any idea what I'm trying to say. But I just want to say this: I understand where people are coming from when they pray every day and when they practice these spiritual principles and they're trying to do things to make it seem like they're getting better or make their life better, or they're trying to please God. And, I'll just start it out with this. If God does exist, if God is really real, why does God, if he exists, need us to please him? Why do we have to ask God for something that he already knows, or it already knows? I say he because that's the God that I was brought up with, is Jesus Christ and the Father and the Holy Spirit. That's what I've been brought up with. And if Jesus really did live, yes, Jesus did a lot of great things. And I don't sit here and scorn the name of Jesus, and I don't scorn Jesus. I don't do all that. But what I'm trying to say here, really listen to what I'm saying in this, because I want you to understand what I mean by this. Every day you're praying to God for these things that you want or need. And how many of you have been praying for a sick child or someone that's sick and they die? How many of you have prayed to get something that you never got? How many of you have prayed like I have for a good woman to come into your life like I have, and it's never happened? It's never even came close to happening. I'm 34 years old and nothing. And I'm kind of a little bitter about that, but then at the same time, I could care less. So there lies the contradiction in that. There's going to be a lot of contradictions and hypocrisies in this video, not from me, but what I used to be and the things that I used to practice and say that I was. There's a whole bunch of them, and I'm not going to think of every little one on this video. I can't possibly sit here and think of every little thing that might be on your mind that you would come to a defense with, saying, oh, well, what about this? You didn't say nothing about that. But let me explain more of what I am trying to say here to get people to understand. World War II, we'll just use that for an example. Don't you think that those people in the death camps and people that were sick, don't you think that they were crying out for God every day, all the time? God never came. And I'm sorry, this is the pure truth about it. And here's what we say all the time. Oh, well, if God did a miracle for this person and not the other person, oh, that's God's will. And God works in mysterious ways because he did this and not that for someone else. That's called favoritism, friends. If you don't know what the word is, then look it up. And I'm not trying to offend people here, but people have to be offended sometimes because they don't listen. It doesn't get through to these religious, spiritual gurus. It doesn't get through to these Baptists, Presbyterians, all these denominations and all these different things. You think that that's pleasing God? Do you think God needs you to burn a couple candles to, have some kind of ritual? Do you think that God wants you to eat a little piece of bread and drink a little glass of wine to symbolize Jesus's death? It just doesn't make sense. It's like hocus pocus. Like, oh, God has sent down a magical thing into the cup of wine and the bread, and now it's in my body. I ate it. Now I'm all good to go. And that's just one thing out of thousands of hypocritical, contradicting things that I'll be talking about. Going back to the World War II issue. And this is even before World War II. This is from so far back that it's going really far back. It's going back since we don't even know about what I'm talking about. But don't you think that these people were crying out and saying, God, where are you? Why are you letting this happen? And nothing ever happened. Life went on. Men went over there and stopped Hitler, the Nazis, Italy. They stopped Japan. They dropped the bomb. Oh, but we're the good guys because we dropped the bomb and killed thousands of Japanese people. I'm not going to say innocent people because nobody's innocent. We all did something wrong in our lives. That's another hypocritical word. Innocent people. No, I don't wish that on anyone that happens, but we're not innocent people. And what's another one that I want to use here? The World War II one is just one. And there's so many other things that I can sit here and talk about. I just want to get to the basics of this so people understand the hypocrisies and contradictions in our world today and what goes on with all this stuff. So you pray for all this to come, it never comes. And I was religious before. I was spiritual. I was all of these things at one time, and I don't get into that no more. I don't try no more to prove something to someone or something that might not even be there. And if it is there, it's not doing nothing. It's only what I do for me, and when I make a move that something happens. That's the only time something happens, is when I do something about it. And I got a little off track here because my mind doesn't always think of everything that I'm trying to say. But when you're doing these things, what you're doing is you're working your way to get better. You're trying to prove that you are holy, that you are righteous, that you are better. And it's not getting you nowhere. You're just wasting your time. All I did since I was younger is waste my time with this. I wasted so many years praying for things that never, it just, I had to make the decision to stop smoking cigarettes. I had to make the decision to stop getting high and doing drugs. That didn't have nothing to do with God and any of that. It had nothing to do with that. I had to go through my own hell in order to get off of Xanax and dope and stopping smoking cigarettes and going to places that I did not want to go. I didn't want to go to rehabs. I didn't want to go into places like that. And their whole philosophy is just totally just screwed up and all over the place. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. If you're anybody who has common sense and knows when you're playing yourself, or you know when someone's fooling you or just speaking nonsense, you know what I mean with this stuff. If you're someone that doesn't see what I'm saying, then you don't see what I'm saying. I'm not against you. You're not my enemy. You know what I mean? I don't hate you because you don't understand something. That's what's wrong with this world. We're not communicating no more. There's no communication in this world whatsoever. At jobs, at stores, with our own families, there's no communication. And then we think that praying to something or someone is going to change something. You know, if that's what gets you by and makes you comfortable, then that's what gets you by and makes you comfortable. But there's other dangers that lie in the whole religion. Look what religions are doing. Religions fly planes into buildings and kill people like me and you. Religion, like the Crusades, went and killed people because they didn't believe in what they believed. The Salem witch trials, they hung people that weren't witches because witches don't exist. There is no magic. There is no hoodoo, voodoo, voila, something changed. I just did something to your drink. I just did something to this sand that I poured over you. It's not real. It's not real. It's amazing how brainwashed and indoctrinated I really was. And here's the problem. People nowadays, they don't want to do this, and they won't do this because they're scared. They're scared of what others will think. They're scared that their family will think that they are going outside of God's will, and you're doing wrong because you're not doing what this says, that we don't know if man wrote, we don't know if Tom, Dick, and Harry wrote, we don't know if God wrote it, we don't know if the disciples really wrote it, we don't really know. And there's so much stuff in the Bible that is just insane. It's just insane. The book of Job is insane. You know, there's so many other things in the Bible. I don't want to get into that. You can read the Bible for yourself. Here's what I say. Read the Bible for yourself. And here is the contradiction that lies in that. For me, I'm just speaking for me here. Here's the contradiction that lies in that. I have read the teachings of Jesus. I have read Romans. I have read Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I have read Revelations. I have read James. I've read all those books. I didn't read every single thing in the Bible. No, but I don't have to read every single little thing to know the craziness that comes with it. And I can't lie. Yes, I did get something out of the teachings of Jesus, and I agree with a lot of the things it says, but I don't get religious about it. I don't keep doing religious practices and spiritual principles and practices. There's no reason for it. Once you know something and you obtained that knowledge, then you live it. You don't speak about it. You don't keep trying to show people by doing all these crazy rituals and trying to prove a point to God if God exists. What does God need you to prove to him or it if him or it exists? Why in the world would you need to prove something to God if he made all this? If it made all this, I'm just going to say he because that's what I'm used to saying. If he made all this, white blood cells, red blood cells, eyes that see, tongues that taste, noses that smell, skin that gets rashes and it can be healed, a heart that pumps blood throughout the body, a brain that does what it does. I mean, why would he need a human being with our limitations? Not saying that the human body is something to be messed with, because it's not. It's a wonderful thing. But at the same time, it's not a wonderful thing. There's things that go wrong with the human body, and there's things that don't make sense with the human body. Like, why do men have these? Why do we have those? I just woke up this morning and asked, why do we have these? Fingernails. There's some things that I don't get, and I don't want to sit here and drive myself crazy trying to understand why I don't get it. And this is what people, we are born. We only live decades. We only live decades in our lives. And you wasting time doing all of this stuff that you think is getting you somewhere. You think that it's proven some kind of point. You think and think and think, and you're believing and believing and believing that all this stuff is doing something for you. And you might be telling yourself that it's helping you, to get through your day, and that it's helping you with your life, and it's helping you with your relationships and all this. But there is another side to this thing. There's a whole nother side that you're either on society's and the system's way of doing things, which is absolutely corrupt and wrong. A money society will never not be corrupt. Anytime there's money and there's people working for something and busting their ass for another person, there's always going to be corruption in that system. There's always going to be violence and other things. There's a guy that I've been watching lately, and I just found him. His name is Jack. I forget his name. It's JACQUE Fresco. Jack Fresco. Jacque Fresco. I don't know how it's pronounced, but this guy talks about everything that I talk about, but he speaks it a lot better than I do. He does it more well than what I do. He comes across with it better than I am. And I'm just now getting my vocabulary back a little bit because I've been messed up for so long. And religion and spirituality is one thing that messed me up a lot. And that's just one thing. You know, I had a really good point on my mind about the World War II stuff about, oh, well, the people died because that was God's plan and all this ridiculous stuff. Yeah, that's another thing. Animals. Look at all the animals that we kill. And listen to this crazy stuff. Have you ever seen a spider or a fly or a bug and said, oh, kill that bug, kill that bug? You know, don't you realize that like bees and other bugs, they keep the air and other things, they keep things eradicated. They do certain things that help us and help nature. And you just kill something and you don't even care about it. You don't even see it as a living entity. You're hurting something. You're killing something. And like animals that we slaughter, we eat animals and we kill them. But here's the question that I have with this, and nobody can answer this. Nobody can answer this. Unless animals don't feel pain like we do, if they didn't feel pain like we do, then it wouldn't be as bad. But why would God design this so that we have to kill animals? Kill people, kill. What if something killed you to eat you? How would you feel about that? What do you feel about that? And see, these religious people and these spiritual people, they'll use every excuse that they can to run away from this. It's cruel. So therefore, if God knew that beforehand, God is cruel. If he knew that beforehand. If God knew beforehand that some child, some middle-aged man, some old woman was going to get sick and die from cancer, because I seen my aunt sick, and it sickens me to think about it. I seen her sick. She was so sick, my aunt. And it just, that's another story. I don't even want to get into it. But I asked, everyone was praying for her. Everybody was praying, oh, please let Vicky get better. She didn't get better. She died. And now her daughters don't have a mom. You know, I used to live with them. I used to live with my cousins, Aaron Raven, my uncle Gary, and Vicky, my aunt. And she died horribly. And that's another, you know, it's real life, but I'm not getting into that right now. But it makes me bitter, and it makes me think things. It makes you say why. And then here's what the religious people and spiritual people will say. Oh, well, that was God's will. That was God's plan. Well, if that was a pretty cruel plan. That was pretty cruel. I mean, can we admit this to ourselves? Can we admit this? See, there's so many people, they're running. They're running from their... People don't even realize how much of a hypocrite and how much they're contradicting themselves on a daily basis. And you know what? I see sometimes I contradict myself, and I am a hypocrite sometimes, and I have to catch myself when I do those things, because I'll say something one minute, and then the next minute I'll be saying something that is either the total opposite or is the same as that thing, and I'll contradict myself. And I might have not even said that right. But I just see so much, and I hate to use this word, but nowadays I just see shit stacked on top of more shit and more bullshit. And it's just, we're bullshitting ourselves. We're bullshitting ourselves nowadays. We're not being real with ourselves and other people. As much as you would like to think that you're being real, you're not. You're not being real. And I don't want to sit here and boast and say that, oh yeah, I'm real and you're not. I don't work like that. I don't do it like that. But I am being as real as I can with you. But I don't want to boast on that. And yes, that is something that I learned from the Bible and the teachings in the Bible. But yet there's still so many things that I don't agree with and I don't go by. And therefore, that's why I question God. I question the existence of a God. I question so many things that doesn't make sense. And I'm not wrong for questioning stuff. See, this is what people that are religious and spiritual and they're into all this will do. They'll try to make you feel guilty for asking questions. They'll try to make you feel like you're wrong and they're right with their indoctrination and their brainwashing that they got from another person. Whatever you are, you got that from your own family or you got that from some other person that was indoctrinated or brainwashed. Plain and simple. And I'm 34 years old, and the last couple years I have just completely shunned away from that lifestyle and those things. And I still get caught up thinking about this stuff, but I won't let it into who I am. I won't let it into my brain because I know how dangerous it is. I know how, dangerous. Why do I say it's dangerous? Okay, let me give you an example of that. If your preacher that's preaching to you every day or every week, however much you see that preacher or that guru that teaches you stuff, supposedly teaches you stuff, what if out of nowhere he or she goes, oh, God told me today, this is very important. God told me to tell you that you have to go and do this to that person. You have to go to this guy's house and you have to harm him, or you have to go down the street here and blow up this building. You have to go to this place and steal this thing. What if they tell you to do that? You believed in them and you took their word for so long, and you've been brainwashed and indoctrinated for so long that you're going to go and probably do that thing. What is going to stop you? You're going to think that he or she got a message from God and God just rained down a message in their head and gave it to them to tell you, even if it's dangerous, even if it's violent, even if it's anything that's bad or good. You don't distinguish that. You go by what you think that God said to do. Why would God tell you, if God wasn't a bad person or cruel, why would he tell you to go hurt someone else or kill somebody else? Would you want to get killed or hurt? No, it's common sense. But this is how dangerous it is, because the line between good and evil, the line between that is so thin. It's just so thin. I mean, you can step over the line to either side so easy. It's not hard. It's not hard to be angry and violent and bitter. It's easy to be those things too. It's, I'm just trying to get people to see that there's so much bull crap that we're led to believe and we've been led into as children. And it's a lack of knowledge and understanding and ignorance why we are still doing these things. Whoever you are, I don't know how you live your life. I don't know what you do in your life. You might call yourself spiritual and religious and all these things. And if you call yourself that, then please listen to some of the things I said and reflect on them and try to understand why I said them. I didn't just say them, to offend people and to get at people and make people my enemy. I don't do it for that reason. And other people like me don't do it for that reason. I do it because you're playing yourself. You're fooling yourself with so many things. So with that is just a couple of the things out of thousands of things that happen with the whole religion, spiritual, preaching, Bible, all that stuff. It's just a couple things out of many things. There's still so much stuff I can sit here and talk about. 31 minutes and 15 seconds doesn't do it judgment at all. So with that, I'm going to get going because my battery's about to die here. So just think about what I said. Best to you. Later.